Good morning, guys. I'm back, Dave. Harry's back. Luke isn't back yet. His internet's a bit dodgy, so we're going to start about. And welcome to episode 32 of the Park Lane podcast. Harry, how are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here once again talking about Tottenham, but there never is a quiet day at Tottenham, so I'm sure there's a lot to talk about, a lot that goes on. But yeah, no, I'm very good, thank you. How are you, Dave?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. Johnny, it's lovely to see you again, mate. Thank you for coming on along as always. Apologies for the slightly late start today. We don't have much to get through. We've got a little bit to get through. So I'm going to jump straight in it when Luke, the word for sponsors and everything else when he gets on board. But for now, let's talk about last weekend, Harry. Let's talk about that game. And I want to get your thoughts on the game as a whole, the touchline fracas with Stellini and De Zerbi. I don't quite know what was going on there. And the VAR controversy. So the ball is in your court, mate. Let me know what your thoughts, and let's go.
No problem. Thank you for this. I don't know where to start, to be honest with you. I mean, what a crazy game. I think it was absolutely crazy. I mean, you had VAR questions, you had the referee questions, you had that touchline, kind of row that almost went on all game, from the start before the whistle kicked off between Stellini and De Zerbi. But how Brighton can say, it's corruption or they want the game replayed, is ridiculous, really. And how they can say there's 5 decisions that were wrong. I mean, come on. For me, it's probably one, with that from Højbjerg, that is a penalty, right? Dave, you know better than anyone. I like Højbjerg, but he's clumsy. It's a clumsy tackle. Yeah. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, it's the type of tackle Dyer would be doing. I mean, come on. It's a penalty. There's no argument there. I think Brighton's goal disallowed. I think that's a clear handball. The other one, I think, is a clear handball. So I don't know where they're quite getting 5 decisions from. I don't think we deserve to win the game, though. But, it's what it is. Because if they want that game replayed, then we should have the Champions League final in 2019 replayed. We should have that game against Southampton replayed, where we had 2 more points snatched off us by a penalty given in injury time, which wasn't a penalty. So that debate can carry on forever. But regardless, we got the 3 points, and that's all that matters. And I believe Stellini's touchline ban has been lifted, and rightly so. I would rather Mason on the touchline, but it is what it is. But it is the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, the VAR thing. I mean, Johnny made a point here, but the handball is no hand if it connects 100% with his body. I don't know. I think he's probably talking about the McAllister one. The reality of it is it does hit McAllister's arm on the way through to goal, and the law does state that if it connects with your hand and then goes in the goal has to be disallowed. It doesn't matter whether it's intentional or unintentional.
The reality is it's not going in until it hits his hand. So it's basically, it comes off your hand and goes in. It's got to be disallowed. I mean, that's just basic.
Yeah, I mean, his hand was tucked nicely into his body and, was pushed in. So, yeah, it's one of them ones. The Matoma one is, I think that's borderline. I think it's more of a case of
which referee you're going to get and the decision.
Yeah, because it is borderline. It's kind of like on this part of his arm, isn't it? And
but they don't help because they change the rule all the time. But just adding on to that, Dave, I think whatever team you support, I think we can all come together and agree that the standard of refereeing in this country is below what it should be. I think it's quite embarrassing. I mean, you see it all the time in the EFL, even Premier League. The standard. Isn't very good. The inconsistency, with VAR, perhaps there needs to be more investment. Get yourself a good pair of referees, because I think that the referee in the World Cup and previous World Cups have been excellent. Not here. Yeah, I want to know.
No, I'm not a VAR fan. I think
no, I'm not.
To make it consistent and to make it fair for everybody, you have 2 sets to VAR. You have at the World Cup, and then you have obviously the clear and obvious penalties kind of thing, the handballs, that kind of stuff. But all the other nonsense that you get with VAR, the 10 minutes to make a decision, just the general nonsense of, I think what you need to do with VAR is get rid of opinion. Opinion shouldn't matter. You know, it's handball or it's not handball.
It's
irrelevant. You know, so because each referee is going to view things differently. So I think they need to scale back VAR. They need to look at what the continental leagues are doing with their VAR, because they don't seem to have half the problems we do. And we need to stop creating a rod for our own. But my thoughts on the game, the De Zerbi Stellini thing was weird, mate. It was like, it was so weird.
I think it's something Stellini said about how it's, you know, it's to do with, like, it's basically Potter's team. I don't. People say, "Oh, you know, you agree with his comment." I actually don't agree with Stellini's comments, but I think De Zerbi. I mean, they obviously hadn't seen him since he said that and had built it all up. But yeah, it was a bit of a baby, Stellini, on the touchline, I think.
Oh, Luke's arrived. How are you, Luke?
What's happening, people? I'm good. I was just listening backstage, seeing if my internet actually survived. But yeah, life's good. Life's good.
So we're actually obviously, as you've probably heard, we're touching on VAR a little bit here. Johnny's obviously joined us as always. We haven't done anything to do with the sponsors yet. We can wrap that up at the end. But what's your kind of thoughts on those VAR decisions? Are you, obviously we're Tottenham fans, so we're going to be a little bit biased. But from if you were to look objectively and say, should Brighton have had a penalty? Should the goals have been disallowed? Then what's your kind of opinions?
So it's quite straightforward, I think. Like, I was on Chris Cowland's show after the game on Saturday, and I discussed this in detail. And the way I sit on it is quite simple. It's that, the two handballs, I think, were handballs. I think that, without Romero's push on Mitoma, it's never going to be a handball. So I think that's very clever. I think that McAllister's is also a handball. But I think the penalty is 100% a penalty. But, Brighton fans need to really look at this game in detail, because if I remember correctly, there was a stamp from McAllister on, I think it was Perisic at some point.
That's a red.
And, there was also a stamp from, what's that tall fella? Can't remember his name. Lewis Dunk.
Yeah.
On Christian Romero. So if we're going to talk about things that should have gone other ways, you need to look very closely at your club as well, because I believe very, strongly that if there are going to be decisions going one way, they have to go both ways. And I'm not sitting here saying Spurs are always done by VAR like some teams are, but it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's that some teams get it on some days and some teams get it on other days. My idea on VAR altogether is the whole thing should be scrapped until it is a usable mechanism. The whole point is to take it away from on-field decisions or errors and to rectify them. But what actually ends up happening is that the people in the VAR studio make the decisions. So where there is always going to be human error. So if we want to take human error out of it, they need to come up with a better system.
Yeah, I think if they're not going to remove human error, let the referee do what he's paid to do. Referee, without the intervention, because human error happens regardless. I mean, I don't agree with this, Johnny. I love you coming on, but this is a load of nonsense. Let's be honest. Everyone hates Tottenham. We know everyone hates Tottenham. We love the fact everyone hates Tottenham. It is what it is. But I don't think there's a conspiracy to get us in the Champions League or whatever. If there was,
probably the opposite of anything.
If there was a conspiracy for Tottenham, Moussa Sissoko wouldn't have been deemed as handballing the ball, in the Champions League final. So I do think, if you want to look to the ball, you can look at Eric Dyer against Newcastle when Andy Carroll headed the ball into the back of him and he was facing the other way and a penalty was given against us. It is swings and roundabouts. Sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it doesn't. And that's just the way it is. And, that's just the way it is. But look, overall, on the game, your thoughts on the performance. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I said to you when we put Stellini in charge at the end of the season, you just basically put B-Tech Conte. You're going to get the same team. You're going to get the same tactics. You can get the same style, same formation. Nothing's going to change. Who's he going to ring for his advice? His best pal, Conte. We set up the same. We do the same thing. We go a goal ahead, and then we just invite pressure. Invite. It's boring to watch. I've been at a Haven holiday park this week, and watching the kids' shows is more entertaining than watching Tottenham. What do you kind of think, Luke? Where are you going to sit with the performance?
Yeah, it's very simple, right? Again, I've been thinking long and hard about this. And do you not find it interesting that Antonio Conte was the one who was let go and nobody else was? When you see a manager leave a post, it's very uncommon that the manager goes and the rest of his team all stay. This is very, very clear and clever from Tottenham. They wanted Antonio Conte out of the club, but they couldn't afford or didn't want to fully get rid of him and everybody else. So it's very simple. Antonio Conte is still very much in charge of Tottenham Hotspur. He just isn't there in person, in face, and it will continue like this till the end of the season.
Yeah. Agree.
You take over a little bit here, mate. You crack on. Now you're back. I'm ready just to invite your questions because I've got a lot to say.
Yeah, first of all, if you can hear my dogs going ballistic downstairs, just
Yeah.
enjoy and embrace the barking because it's happening and we can't stop it. So anyway, let's move on. Harry, what do you think kind of all together on Spurs? And also, I don't want you to touch on Bournemouth as a whole, but I saw Stellini's comments today and said we need to play attacking football.
Joe. Yeah. He doesn't even. Yeah, but look,
how many games, Harry, to play attacking football?
He doesn't know what it means. I mean, what's his definition of attacking football? Is it, touch the ball 3 times in a game? I mean, what is it? Because we haven't seen it yet. Stellini's had 2 games in charge now, and he had the games where Conte wasn't here. Where's this attacking football? And why have you all of a sudden woken up first thing in the morning and decided that we need attacking football? I mean, come on. That light bulb should have switched from game 1. I mean, come on. If you watched us under Mourinho, watch just under Nuno, and watch how well we done under Poch with a better style of football, you would know that we need to play attacking football. It is absolutely bonkers. I mean, if we go 1-0 up today and sit back, I mean, I don't know what I would do. It's ridiculous. It's Bournemouth. I mean, you go for them. You got to put that game. I mean, against Brighton, we got the job done. But on another day, we won't. We might not get the job done. We might not get the 3 points.
I just want to say, right, is doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of madness or whatever it may be, right? And morning, Frankie. Hopefully, we'll have you back very, very soon. I don't get this whole concept of thinking that by removing one person from a team, a coaching team, is going to change anything. It's going to change the style of football we play. Stellini's been Conte's number 2 for a long time. He's worked with him for a long time. His coaching staff, they're drilled to coach Conte's style. So when you keep the same, it's like you said, Luke, in terms of the, keeping all the staff on board, it doesn't make sense. Personally, I think Daniel Levy's in a bit of trouble. I think that there is a shift in mood in the camp. I think he's desperate to get us, obviously, Champions League football for the revenue. Obviously, employing, is it Scott Munn?
Yeah.
As a guy who's apparently going to take over the football. For me, he's just another fall guy. And that's generally the way I see it. So it's a bit of a weird one. You're asking a guy who's been drilled to play defensive football and drilled to coach defensive football to change style of play like that. It's not happening.
It's very simple, though, Dave. It's very, very simple. They wanted Antonio Conte as in a poster boy, as in a face of the club, out of the club, based on the comments that he said. I don't think they have any intention of, sacking the entire team. They just needed him away from the club. And that's why it has come as mutual consent or whatever it's called, mutual decision, because all that's happened is that he has just been removed. He will continue to be paid and they'll continue to play Conte ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that, Luke. But what I don't get is what do they think is going to change? I mean, as you say, it's only to get Conte that relationship with the players to separate. Because after Conte's comments, it's impossible, to continue to the end of the season. But not much is going to change. If you want something to change, you'd put Ryan Mason in charge at the end of the season. Don't get me wrong; it's not easy getting a manager, this time of the season. We have got Ryan Mason, who could step in and could change the football. I don't know what you're making noises for, but Dave, I want to know your thoughts. Okay, at the weekend, right? Stellini gets sent off, yeah, and Mason in charge of the touchline. Dyer goes into defensive midfield, which I've been calling for I don't know how long. Danjuma comes on, and we play attacking football. We go for the game, right? We go for it. We get the goal. We win the game, and we look a better team. All fans go home happy. I mean, I think things we've been crying out for from fans. I don't know what you're missing.
No, pushing Dyer up into midfield was a great decision, tactically a great decision, because it stopped inviting that pressure from Brighton. It gave us that extra man, that extra dynamic, which really did help, which is a great decision by Mason. But
Danjuma coming on, us fans wanted to see him for a long while. I think it's a very overdue his start.
I just think that. I don't know. I think that Mason isn't that guy for me. He is the new David Pleat as such. He's going to be the firefighter when we need him to.
I'm not saying he's a guy for the long term, but I think till the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't think you should have waited to the end of the season. I don't see the point. Why wait? Unless you've got a manager in mind that you cannot get until the end of the season. And you bring in an interim to the end of the season. So Chelsea have done this numerous times where they brought in an interim. I mean, they brought in Gus Hiddink as an interim to the end of the season once. They bring in good managers to get them through to the end of the season. Obviously, this time they brought in Lampard, which isn't such a good appointment. But the whole Mason thing, like I said, it's a great move that he made, pushing Dyer into midfield to get rid of that pressure. But the whole club is rotten, let's be honest. And I don't want to go too much into the club because it annoys the hell out of me. But it was a good decision, smart decision. And we'll see today against Bournemouth. I'm predicting the same 3-4-3, 3-5-2 lineup, whatever you want to call it. I'm predicting the same football. We go at them for 10, 15 minutes. We'll probably get an early goal. And then we invite pressure. So unless Stellini decides he wants to have a punch up with Gary O'Neill, we're probably not going to win today.
That's a very fair point. Like, when you look at, how we got on in the last game against Bournemouth away, and we had to wait until we were 3-0 down before we started playing. This is just embarrassing at the moment, in my opinion. Like I said a few weeks ago, like if Stellini wants to become a manager, then he has to put his own stamp, his own style, his own thoughts, his own abilities on the line.
But like De Zerbi has with Brighton, De Zerbi stamped his authority. He's got the foundation of Potter's system and Brighton team that stamped his authority and tweak things. So I don't get Stellini's got to do the same. I mean, there's no point in copying someone. I mean, he can learn things from Conte, like the low block, the defensive bit. I don't know, the mentality maybe. I know. I am, but I'm thinking for Stellini's sake, going forward, if he wants to stamp his authority, getting top four and tweaking a few things.
Do you know what done it for me with Stellini straight away? Was I can't remember what game it was now. It's been so bloody many. And he brought on Davinson Sanchez in like the 60th minute or 70th minute or something. And I was like, why are you bringing him on? Why? What? And then he brought on Lucas Moura instead of Danjuma. And I'm like, then Lucas Moura gets sent off. And I'm literally sitting there like pulling my hair out. Like, what is going on?
That was Everton, and then we sit back and we concede. I mean, that for me, just that game decided, Stellini, he's not the man for the long term, and he needs to go.
But he had a shot, in my opinion. He had a shot of becoming the Spurs manager.
Yeah, he had 90 minutes, Luke. He had 90 minutes, and he couldn't do it.
You're probably too young for this, but remember when Tottenham employed Jacques Santini?
Yeah,
and he had an assistant called Martin Jol.
Yeah.
Jack Santini left. Was it Santini? It was Santini, wasn't it?
I think so.
He left, and then Martin Jol took over. It might not be. Was it Santini? I'm pretty sure it was anyway. But we had a manager, and Martin Jol was basically his assistant. I think he took out. I think he left because he was ill. It might have been Ramos.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but it might have been Ramos actually. But he left because he was ill, and then Martin Jol took over to the end on a deal to the end of the season.
Yeah.
The rest is history. Martin Jol started our transformation as a football club. He put in all the groundwork and all that good work, and obviously then Tottenham do what Tottenham do and sack him at half time in the game. You know, So
no, that's my point on that. Like, nobody goes into football management and says, "Do you know what I want to be? Do you know what my dream is? My dream is to be someone's assistant, someone's bitch for the rest of my life." Like, no one does that. There must be a point in Stellini's mind where he thinks, "Do you know what? I want to be my own manager. I want to stamp my authority on a football team." And, Tottenham Hotspur, a big, big club, and people may laugh at that, but a very big club. And he has such a good opportunity to say, "Do you know what? I'm going to be the next Spurs boss, and I don't care what anyone says because I'm going to prove it on the pitch." And what did he do?
Really?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it's driving me insane.
He bought on Sanchez, and then he bought on Lucas Moura. And poor Danjuma must be sitting there going, "How are these guys getting ahead of me? Like, how is Lucas Moura coming on the pitch ahead of me?" This whole Lucas Moura, you know how much Lucas Moura annoys me, Luke. This whole club legend thing, because he scored a hat-trick.
I love Lucas Moura, but, whatever.
Yeah, that's my opinion. He's not a club legend. He's a good player, and he's been okay for us. He's had one big moment, and he's done well in it. But one thing I will say, and I will say about Stellini that I do want to give him credit for is Son. Son looks a lot better. Son seems to be in better positions, but again, that could be Mason. You just don't know, do you? But no, I think that Son is getting in better positions. He's getting into the positions that got him goals last season. His goal last week was lovely, and that was a hindrance. If you look at his average playing position when under Conte, he was basically playing as like a holding midfielder. It was awful. So to see him higher up the pitch is something I'm excited for.
Dave, I've got a question for you quickly. You said Son, it's improved. So you've got Son and Kulusevski who usually start, right? Yeah, alongside Kane. I want to know who would play today alongside Harry Kane, because Stellini said Richarlison's back, he's match fit, he's ready. You've got Danjuma, who's obviously always on the bench. I know my opinion on this. I don't think Son or Kulusevski have done enough this season to kind of cement, if you like, their place in the team. But I want to know who you would start today.
Well, after last week, you have to start Son. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to start Son. So I think Son plays. Personally, I would be looking. I wouldn't be looking at Kulu. I think he's been really off it massively lately. I think we need that aggression. That someone who's going to chase and chase and chase, and that player is Richarlison. Yeah, he's the one that's going to chase. He's going to hassle. He's going to harry. He's going to wind up the opponents. We need that because just watching like Tottenham Hotspur is like trying to blow up a balloon with a hole in it. It's just flat and deflated and shit, to be honest. It's bloody awful. I would go with Richarlison personally. I think we need that aggression personally.
Do you not know who I'm going for? I'm going for Danjuma because you know what I like from him that I don't see a lot from Richarlison, and that is the ability to dictate where others should be on the pitch. That kind of presence that he says, "Do you know what? I may have come on as a substitute, but I will do that." But also just watching his run to pull two defenders away against Brighton at the weekend was something that I haven't seen Richarlison do a lot this season. And he has had a fair few opportunities. And that, for me, would get him to start over Richarlison. But if you get a one-on-one opportunity, I'm thinking Richarlison scores more than Danjuma, so that's where we get.
Luke, where are you going to start him? Are you starting him right wing? I don't know if he's played there.
Yeah, but why could you not play Son right wing?
Yeah,
there are options there.
Yeah,
Like Son has the ability to switch it up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Fair enough.
Yeah, another thing about the Danjuma thing is he is playing against Bournemouth. Bournemouth is his old club. Points for
yeah.
So that's another argument for the Danjuma camp. I'd be happy with either of them as long as they can provide that aggression moving forward, the pressing, the high press, because we do need to get out of our box, and we do need to get. We let teams just knock it around. Honestly, it's so boring to watch.
The space we give them, though.
I watched Wrexham Notts County the other day. I don't know if anyone watched that game. It was on BT Sport.
Great game.
That's a cracking game.
Yeah.
fucking end to end. And it reminded me of how Tottenham used to play the Harry Redknapp. It was like end to end to end to end. It was nuts football. You know, I just want
to see. It was nice to see in that game. Touch on that. It was nice to see John Bostock score as well.
That was weird, man. I didn't even know he played for Notts County. I was like, is that when they kept saying Bostock? I was like, that's not the John Bostock, is it? But it is.
Spurs legend.
What a fall from grace.
I know, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, Dave, I know you do have to go today. It was short and sweet, but and I've been in and out, but let everyone know how they can find you, but also give everyone your score prediction today for the game against Bournemouth.
Oh mate, I hate doing these. I mean, I was right. I was right. You know, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm gonna stick with what I've been thinking. I do think we'll win. Even though I said earlier we probably won't, but I do think we'll win. I think we'll concede early again because we've got Calamity Lloris in goal. I think we'll probably 2-1. I want to see Richarlison get that goal. I think he's getting a lot of hate online, which isn't really warranted. You know, he has been poor, but I think we'll win 2-1. Hopefully, we play a better brand of football. I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to watch it. I can't. It does my head in. It literally does my head in. I'll catch the highlights on Match of the Day if we win. If we lose, I won't watch Match of the Day, and I'll rant about it next week. But I'm on the usual places. I'm sorry, I've got to leave early today. Park Lane Pod Dave, you can find the Park Lane podcast. I'll be back full time next week. I'm also on A View from the South Stands later on today with Marlon at about 7:30. So if you want to catch me on there, I'll be on there. But boys, I'll catch you all very, very soon again. Sorry, I've got to leave so early.
Take care, Dave.
Bye.
All the best.
And then there was 2, Harry.
I'm still here, apparently.
Not yet. There is now.
I'm still here again.
2. Oh,
we got 2 now?
Oh my God. That's the problem when you have 2 people controlling the buttons, isn't it?
Yeah, you both doing the same thing.
So